All right, so we're doing this demo on this still life. I've drawn this line right here, which indicates the corner of the table on the back. Um, and then I've drawn this line right here, which marks where the corner comes to, and it's probably about like that tall. Then this is going to come back this direction. This is going to be parallel to that. And then you've got this corner that's going to come off about like so. If it's not totally identical, it's okay. Get everything proportioned correctly. All the guidelines and everything should help you do that. This line right here, I'm going to change this just a little bit. As I look at it, it looks like it's, because you want these to look like they're going back, kind of like perspective, like they're going back towards each other. And we'll fix all that after a bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and do kind of just that, the bottom of the fabric, just a guideline to show where that's at. Kind of a little messy, just a couple lines there to show that that's where the fabric is. Okay, and this is the edge of the table that you can actually see, right? And then you've got the base of the vase, which is going to be somewhere in this, maybe a little lower, maybe like right there. Okay, and then I've got a straight line going up parallel to the sides of your paper. This is huge and really, really important. If you don't draw a line parallel to the sides of your paper, you're going to have a crooked vase. And if you have a crooked vase, it's going to look all jacked up. Understand that using these guidelines is the very least you can do to get a good drawing. It's the very least. I mean, this stuff is easy. Once you understand what to do, it's easy. Make a straight line parallel to the sides of your paper. If you have to use a ruler for that guideline, line up your ruler with the top of your paper and draw a really light line. It's just a guideline. You can erase it later, Okay, and then this vase is, a little over halfway up our paper, so approximately right like that. And then that's the top of it, okay? And down here, I've got this curved line, which I said that shows where the curve starts. So this is our ellipse at the top. Okay, and when you draw a squished circle or an ellipse, that's just showing that you're looking at that circular object from the side. Okay, then I drew the top of it. And then I'm going to draw these lines right here. Okay, because it goes right behind my vase and it's level actually with my vase. This line right here is the edge of that sheet that's back there. And it goes pretty much all the way up to the top of my frame. And that one's going to be more organic, so you can actually, don't use a ruler for that one because it's a fabric line, and so you want it a little bit more organic. Okay, and then this line comes right back here. And you can actually use that to kind of say, all right, so this is the tip of that iron, and so I would say there's my reference point there. How tall is the iron? The iron goes from there to there. Always use the object previously drawn for your guidelines. This is, again, a guideline, right? That's the tip of my iron there. And then the top of my iron is almost to the top of my vase. So that's about right there, the handle of the iron, right? Did you guys know what that was when you first looked at it? No? It's like an old school iron. So you put it on the stove and heat it up, get it really hot. And before they had electric irons, so you'd put it on, it'd just be a flat piece of iron. And you'd put it on your clothes to press your clothes, It's kind of crazy. Okay, so that angle for that handle, you want to make sure you have that. So I'm going to do just a little more work on my fabric here. Right there's that line there. There's that line there. Now, would it help if I stopped and let you guys draw this much of it? That way it's not too much all at once? Yes or no? Do you want to do that? Okay, why don't we do that? I'll pause this. All right, so here we go, resumed with the still life drawing for drawing one. And We've got our guidelines for the top, middle, bottom of the vase. Now I'd start drawing out that first object. So the vase, you're gonna have these lines coming straight down. Sometimes for me it helps to turn my paper. I'm trying not to do that because I don't want to mess up the orientation of the camera right now. So there's the sides. And again, draw light. I'm trying to draw a little darker so you can, of course, see it. But draw light so that you can see. If you wanted to, guidelines as well for the edge of this, like how far out those curves go. You could do that as well. Can everybody see those guidelines there? Remember, those would be guidelines. They'd be erased later. The angle of that's kind of about like that. And so you've got that on both sides. If this line right here is not like parallel to the top and bottom of your paper, then these lines could be off. Okay. So as you draw that, you're going to curve it, and you can see that that vase goes inward. All right. So it goes inward, and I would do just like when I tell you to draw eyes one at a time. I would do one side at a time, and then draw a line on one side, draw a line on the other side. That way it's not, oh, I'm spending all the time on one side and then it's all messed up. Now I'm going to go maybe just a little wider on that. And you can always, that's why if you draw light, you can kind of beef things up later, especially since you got to go back and shade everything anyhow. And then the rounded line at the bottom there. Okay, and then let's see. Next what I'm going to do is that circle. So I'm going to draw a line for the top of the circle, which is right about there, and a line for the bottom of the circle, which the circle's closer, and so that's why those objectives also stated, placement, right? Placement is really important. And so placing that circle lower on the page helps the viewer understand that, okay, that's closer than the vase you just drew, That's about the right size, I think, for that. And then I'm going to go over. So here's my guidelines for my circle. One there. And then I'm going to go. Actually, this line right here is the edge of it. So this line, the line that you drew originally, if it's placed pretty correctly, this should be the edge of your circle there. And then the very edge of the circle here goes to about like that. And maybe I went over just a little far. That's okay. Now, if you have those guidelines there like that, it can help you to get that circle dialed in and more to shape. Okay. Now, if anybody needs a compass.
Good morning, Austin High School. Please excuse our interruption this morning. Could all student council, youth leadership, NHS, and Go Green students please report to the back principal's office? Again, could all student council, youth leadership, NHS, and Go Green Club members please report to the back office? Thank you.
What do you think? They got a little toilet paper to clean up? Is that it? Does anybody want a compass or a circular device of some sort? All right, let me grab you guys some. You needed one? Just throw the wrappers away when you're done. One for each of you. Anybody else? I need one. Did you want one? No? Good? Perfect. Just throw the wrappers away when you're done. You guys want one? Cool. Anybody else want one? Yeah, you guys. You want one too? Are you good? You good? Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? So, is this scratch paper? Alright, so how you work these is you take this point in the middle here. If you don't know how to work these, check this out quick, okay? You take the point in the middle, you need either your finger or I would recommend a pencil, like another pencil to hold it in place. And this one right here. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna mark where I use that way in case I have to go back, I know that it slipped. Right? And then as far as how wide you want it to be. Okay. Hold the paper. There you go. It's getting stuck there for some reason. But you get the idea, right? Yeah. So you're just gonna go this? Yeah. Everybody know how to use them now? Good? And technically you want to get good at drawing, you should get good at drawing circles, so you should practice these. If you have to use a compass this time, that's alright, but you should really practice drawing circles. It's kind of one of those things that you really can't get away from if you're going to be, learning how to draw things. Alright, so I'm trying to make sure this is still lined up for you. You got those two objects. And I apologize to the people that are watching this recording because that was just some dead space there, but you can fast forward through it and get over it later. You can yell at me next time you see me. Alright, we're going to start the iron now. Okay, so I'm also going to just draw this little line that kind of comes off like right about there. Kind of a fabric shadow or something. I'm not exactly... Gotta look at that a little more closely when I get to that part. But that's gonna kind of help me understand, alright, so the tip of my iron is just directly below that little fabric line there. And so how do you draw this iron out? You're gonna draw kind of like a line going that way, right? And it's just a little ways past the edge of the circle. And so you could draw a line here to kind of signify that end. And you could also draw this line to show that that box, the top of the box goes right like that. It might actually help to kind of draw that box first. This is going to go down not as far as the circle, so it's going to be shorter than the circle the box is, all right? And then you're going to have this line. You're going to have a little bit of a line back there like that. That shows that that goes straight up that way. And this goes like that for the edge of that box. So I'm going to draw it a little bit darker so you can see it. And then this back line is going to go right like that. Now, I screwed up a little bit. I made that box a little bit too long. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line right here just to dial it in. You can take liberties like that as you're doing still life drawings like this just to make it look better. It just looked too long. And it was my fault, but I want to also show you how to fix small tweaks like that when they need to happen, okay? So now the iron itself is going to be right about here, okay? And I'm going to take and I'm going to draw that back part of the iron right there. And I'm going to draw the front part right here. And it's kind of a small but thick, heavy piece of actual iron or steel, that's actually used for that purpose. So you got those two lines to show the edge of that. Then this line kind of goes back like that, and then this is going to come up that way and go to that tip. And you can see that back part barely at all, okay? And then this would help show the shadow on this face of it. Well, I should say the edge of it, rather. The edge facing you, that's going to show that that shape is what it is. Okay, now I'm starting to darken a little bit. And before I do that, I want to make sure I go up here and do the handle part. So the handle goes from there to there. Got a couple guidelines, and it also goes from there to there. Got a couple guidelines there. And then I'm going to bring this up, bring this up, bring this up, bring this guy up. Kind of thins out a little bit at the top. You can actually see where, you know, it connects. You can have a line right there parallel to the edge there. Thins out there. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw. I'm going to draw an ellipse for this end, but it's really going to be a fine kind of squished ellipse. And then there's going to be just a line for that part of it. Okay, because the way you're looking at it, it goes out, it goes in and out, out and in, right? That, in and out, out and in. And this may be rounded just a little bit more, and that may be shadowed a little bit like that. Okay, so there you've got your iron. Okay, and so after you do some of the shading and stuff, all this stuff will kind of disappear in and of itself when you shadow over it. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to draw this little V right here. Okay, what is that? That's going to be where my cloth gets stuck underneath my box there. And then these lines I'm going to draw like this, and that's where that cloth goes back and down behind the ball that I have drawn, right? Okay, so drawing these lines kind of going like that, angling back towards each other is going to help you show that shadow, because when you shade this stuff, it's going to go like this. You know, you're going to use that contour line shading just like we saw on the apple and the banana, right? This is going to go in and bump right into that, which there again is that overlapping, which shows the edge, you know. And I'm going to take just another liberty here. You can see this a little better on mine. Draw the edge of that white part of the napkin. And, you know, the white part is actually the napkin. The other parts are going to be the fabric. At least that's what I'm calling it. All right, and we've got a little bit of this going, like that. Actually, it's all part of that back, isn't it? Part of that back sheet. That's what it is. It's all like a white sheet and then a darker cloth underneath. So a sheet and a handkerchief, we'll call them. All right, I'm going to stop there. And that's the outline of it. The rest is going to be shading. Actually, I'm going to do just a little bit of shading to help you understand that part, okay? And so when you shade, you can use cross contour, you can use cross hatching, you can use blending, you can use a shading stump. Let's say if you wanted to start out using just good old number 4, which is a darker pencil, and look at the darkest area. You know, one of the darkest areas is right behind this sheet right there, right? If I darken that in, right, and there's a little line that kind of comes off like that angles that way. If I darken that in and show, okay, that's my darkest area right there, you know. If you do use a shading stump or a rolled up piece of paper, again, a rolled up piece of paper is the same as a shading stump. It's just a little more difficult to use. Just be cautionary with it, because when you use it, you can get some really good tones with it, but you don't want it to make everything way too foggy, you know. Sometimes that happens. And so I'm going to go up, blend a little bit, and a lot of teachers, and I've gone back and forth on this, I've been on the fence and gone back and forth. A lot of teachers don't let their kids use shading stumps until way after they've learned how to master shading with a pencil first. I kind of agree with that in some sense, but then again, every student is different, and so it's hard to say that that's the way I think completely and solely. Okay, so there's a little bit of the shading on the sheet, and it goes up to, you know, right about there, and then it turns a little whiter. A little bit of shading there too. And then if I wanted to, I could take and, you know, again use that stump to control some of that blend over there. And then the next thing I'm going to do before I shut the camera off here is I'm just going to shade a little bit of this pot on the side. So again, it's almost as dark as that part I just shaded behind the fabric. But you're gonna be using, you know, this kind of contour lines to help get everything dialed in correctly. And so using the edge of your pencil is not a bad thing. Using lines that are contour to the object you're drawing and shading isn't a bad thing either, okay? And this is a little shaded more up here than in the middle, but it's still, you know, you want to look at what you're drawing. A lot of times it's the hardest things for people to do, for students to learn, is to look at what they're drawing, but it's absolutely essential if you want to get better. Okay, and then the opposite side is going to be darker on the inside of that. Okay, so I'm just laying the foundation of what to shade and where on that base. Okay, come down here a little bit more, shade it a little bit more down here. Okay, maybe a little bit of the bottom of the circle, and then you're going to continue. Kind of continue shading like that. And if you wanted to as well use your stump, again, just be careful with it. Don't overdo it. And if you do overdo it, stop and adjust and fix it. Now this line you could erase. Mine's probably overlapping a little more than maybe should have, but again, you want it to look right for your paper. And we just kind of go that direction for starters. Kind of do the same thing over here a little bit, and I may end up hitting it again with a pencil later. But right now that's a good start for what you want to do, and you want to just keep looking at the drawing and making sure that you can get it dialed in. Alright, we're stopping the video.